now that Raila Odinga amesimama na Ruto, and Raila Odinga is known for fighting for democracy and fighting for what's good, maybe for the nation, and people are looking at an instant where now Raila Odinga is standing with President Ruto, and many of them wanamwona kama betrayer, like he's betraying something that he stood for since his youthful days. So is it really right for the Gen Z, especially the Gen Z and even the millennials or even the boomers, to say that Raila Odinga is a betrayer? He has betrayed his cause?
Well, I think
by joining President Ruto.
I think probably the people have different lenses and different outlooks on how they perceive things. I think the Gen Zs, from their outlook, they might be right to perceive Raila as a betrayer because they have learned about his history, and they have learned about how Raila Odinga has been resilient and consistent in fighting for democracy in this country and ensuring that the second liberation of this country takes place. And his weapon that he's mostly used to liberate this country from one party state or from the status quo is mostly through picketing and demonstrating. And using freedom of speech to ensure that the people, not only in Kenya but across the continent and globally, clamor for democracy and just the freedom to be able to express themselves politically, and just to ensure that democracy and the rule of law is followed to the letter. What else I can add to that is that I would not blame them because they have their reasons, because they are not there in the political space to actually see what is happening from the leadership front. But as for Raila Amolo Odinga, I would say that he looked at the whole leadership spectrum from a holistic point of view. And there are some who say if Raila Amolo Odinga, from the corridors of power, I have journalists who work in the mainstream media, and I've had them say, because they brush shoulders with these leaders who work in close liaison with Ruto and the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, that if Raila Amolo Odinga hadn't gotten into government, then this country, we will be talking something different. Then I think that he saved this country. According to them, they said that Raila Amolo Odinga saved this country when he went into forming a broad-based government with Ruto, because we would be talking something else. Probably the Kenyan leadership would be ruled by militia or the army. That was what I have heard from the corridors of power. But then again, well, everybody has a right to his or her opinion. But even be that as it may, Raila's relationship with Ruto is not going to last, because we know who Ruto is. If you remember yesterday's discussion at Al Jazeera, the leader for majority, Kimani Ichung'wah, was being questioned head to head with Mehdi from Al Jazeera, and you could see that he was really trying hard to, cushion some of the lies that he was being thrown at. But there's no way that Ruto can now convince Kenya that he is doing something good for the country, and yet there is nothing to be seen on the ground that is actually putting the country first.
Yeah, that's interesting, because even here when we saw Ichung'wah being grilled, it was like someone like a grilling pale kwa Al Jazeera. think he didn't anticipate maybe angepatana na such questions. And
I think he knew. Who doesn't know Al Jazeera, especially that guy? Oh my God. When it's called head to head, and BBC had talk as well. It's usually the same caliber.
It's like he wasn't prepared, because we saw he was overreacting to some questions and a bit kaizo na nini. So some
he was put on the edge.
Some will say that if maybe it was President Ruto, the opposite would have happened, such that now Ruto angeweka hiyo journalist kwa spot.
And also remember, Uhuru Kenyatta was also put on the spot by a BBC journalist. I think you remember that.
Yeah.
And also Ruto as well. So I think every major politician in the African continent is usually put on the spot. I don't know why. Probably these journalists have a way of trying to shred this continent into pieces, as much as the African leaders are trying their hardest to ensure that the continent is moving forward in matters economy and politics.
Yeah, so according to me, I don't think it was relevant for someone like Imani Ichung'wah to go to that platform.
I may disagree there.
I don't think it was relevant. Sometimes defending something that people don't like, don't support, most of people don't support, is always difficult, because the opposite side always seems to have more points than maybe the ones that we will be having. Anyway, apart from that, away from that, kuna hii aspect ya watu wameona the way we discussed, maybe the way that you said maybe the country was at edge after the Gen Z protests na nini. Would it have solved maybe issues with Raila if maybe angetake advantage ya co-president now? Maybe maybe you could take the opportunity to rescue like Ruto's government, I turn into like now drumming his campaign for him to become the president of Kenya, because now that's what the Gen Z were picturing. Maybe if Raila Odinga angesema let me support this movement and get myself into power, so that the Gen Z would see that everything is right according to them, because right now the way the Gen Z are maybe reasoning, maybe the way they are thinking power works, maybe is different. What do you think?
I think that's your opinion, Don. Well, I'm glad that things worked out the way they did, but be that as it may, Raila Amolo Odinga is a resilient politician. He may not be understood by many because of the decision that he had to take. As a leader, it doesn't matter whether you take positions that favor the people, that is popular to the people. As long as you know deep in your heart that you're taking a position or taking a decision that is unpopular but it's right. I think that's what Raila Amolo Odinga did. And the fact that he had just saved Ruto's government in the manner that we have declared. I think for him to declare himself the president, that would be democratically wrong. It would go against everything that he stood for. He's not a dictator. He was fighting for dictatorship all his life. Remember, he has been imprisoned for so many years. He has been tortured by the Moi administration, the late Moi administration. And so there's no way that he can actually do that. And remember, when he was in Kanu, he had to move out of Kanu and he had to go back to the people. Many of the politicians right now, especially these members of the UDA party, this UDA party, the only way that they need to get the popular consent of the people, if they have moved out of UDA, members of the Gema community, then they need to go back to the people. But I guess they have an excuse that the IEBC has not yet been formed. So when Rigathi Gachagua forms his party, then they would be able now to go back to the people and do the by-elections, because they're no longer in the UDA party. And that is the way to go. What's happening on the screen?
Okay, you can the audience can also tell us what they think about comment section as we await for the event to start officially. And right now just entertainment, watu wanajibamba hapo mbaya sana.